Hi guys, I am Chinwendu. In case you are coming here for the very first time, you are welcome. If you have been a returning viewer, you are also welcome. Remember, in my last tutorial I shared with you guys how to draft this particular dress, and in this one I'm going to be showing you how to sew them together so it looks something like this. So if you are interested in this, stay tuned until the end of this tutorial. Now I have my fabric right here. I have 3 yards of chiffon polka dot material, and the plain material right here is a cashmere. I made use of 1 yard of it. Okay, I've actually cut this down before coming here to show you guys the fabric, so it might not be that big enough. Okay, so this on top my table is the yoke, and to the center of this yoke, that is the V neckline, I added 1/2 inch for joining allowance, and to the down part I also added 1/2 inch to join it to the middle part, which is the plain material. Okay, and you can see how I spread this. Okay, and I used 2 inches at interval. Okay, now to this particular one right here I added 1/2 inch at the upper part, and to this part I added 1/2 inch as well. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside and then we bring in the back. Now this is the yoke of the back, and to the down part I added 1/2 inch as well, and then this is the middle part of the back, and to the upper part I added 1/2 inch as well. So I'm going to put this aside and we work on the yoke. Okay, so to the yoke you are going to have to go to your sewing machine and stitch the middle and the side and turn it over to the good part. Now remember, I used this chiffon fabric to cut for both the lining and the actual piece. I hope you guys understand. So what I have right there was 4 pieces. Okay, 2 pieces for one part of the breast cup and 2 pieces for the other part of the breast cup. Now to the middle part of the front, first of all what we are going to do is to go ahead and take in our darts. So what I'm doing right here is marking out my darts. Okay, so what I did was to fold this middle part into 2, and from the folded part I went ahead to go in by 4.5 inches. So I use my nipple to nipple measurement to do that. Anyways, on drafting this you already know what we did right here. So nipple to nipple measurement right there is 8 inches. I divided by 2 and I had 4 plus 1/2 inch for sewing allowance. Okay, so I went ahead to locate the middle and marked out 4.5 inches, and right now I went ahead to bring in my pattern. This is just simply to locate the points which I'm going to be using right here. So the first chalk I marked out right there is my waistline, and the second part, which is the middle, is the lower waistline, and the down part is the hip line. Okay, so guys, I'm going to go on the waistline to mark out 1.5 inches that, but I'm going to be sharing it equally on both sides, which means I'm going to be making use of 3/4 of an inch on both sides. Okay, and to the under bust I made use of 0.25 inches. So together I have 1/2 inch right there. So I'm going to go ahead, after marking this out, connect my dart legs, and this is literally what you can see me doing right here. I hope you guys understand. So basically what I'm doing right here is just trying to trace out my darts and then connecting it, marking it out, and once I am done I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and follow this line, sew it up together. Okay, so once I am done with this one, we're going to go over to the back part as well, because the back also came in with a dart. So for the back I'm going to as well mark out my dart, but before I mark out my dart I'm going to remove 1 inch for my zipper allowance. Now from this zipper allowance line I will go ahead and mark out 4.5 inches for my nipple to nipple measurement, and once I am done with that, I would forge ahead to outline my lines and then mark out my dart legs. Okay, once I am done, I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and as well stitch this together. Okay, so whatever you see me doing right here is actually what I did on the drafting parts. If you haven't seen that video where I cut this particular dress, I'm going to be linking it in the description box so that you go watch it before you come over to this one. It is very important. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same thing to the other side of the back. So guys, you can see what I am doing. I'm trying to connect the dart legs now, and once I am done, I'll move over to my sewing machine and stitch this together. Now to the upper part of the back, which is the yoke, I'm equally going to go ahead and mark out my darts. Okay, 4.5 inches, and then from the shoulder I'm going to locate my bust point. You know that the dart of the back usually starts 1 inch below the chest line, so that is what I am literally doing right here. Okay, it's not like it's a new thing. And once I am done, I'm going to also go ahead and turn my neck and then turn the zipper allowance and the side seam. So after we're done, you guys, this is what I have. You can see I've held in my darts for both the front and the back. Okay, so this is my back as well. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the upper part of this back, and what I'm going to do next is to go ahead and join them to the middle part of the back. Okay, so I'm going to equally go ahead and work on the front. First of all, to the front, I'm going to fold the middle part, which is the cleavage area, inward by 1/2 inch, and after I do that, I'm going to run a loose stitch to gather up my cup. Okay, so after I gather this cup, I'm going to come over and show you guys what I have. So you guys, I've run my gather stitch. So what you all have to do is to go ahead and hold one part of the thread, okay, and then you pull this together. So you guys, after I pull, this is what I have. I'm going to repeat the same thing to the other side, so you can see what I am doing. Once you are done with what you want to achieve, what you are going to do next is to go ahead and sew this into the cup area of the middle part of your dress. Okay, so I'm going to use my pins to hold it down, just like you can see me doing like this. And once I am done, I'm going to move over to my sewing machine and stitch this all around using 1/2 inch. So you can see I'm repeating the same thing to the other side. I'm just trying to use my pins to hold it down in place so that no place would be more gathered than each other. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my sewing machine right now and sew this using 1/2 inch, and I'll come show you guys what I have. You can see I am done sewing it, so we are going to move over to the back now, and this is the back. What you have to do is to bring in the yoke for the back. Okay, this yoke is actually the upper part, just that I called it the yoke. Okay, so the upper part of the back would have to face the middle part of the back, just like this, and you go ahead and first of all you sew in your darts, and you see what I'm showing you. And once you are done, you go ahead and sew this using 1/2 inch. So guys, I'm done joining the up part to the middle part, and this is what we have. Next, what I'm going to do is to go ahead and sew my zipper allowance. Okay, so remember my zipper allowance is 1 inch. I'm going to use a loose stitch to sew it down to the hip, and I would back stitch and use a tie stitch to finish the other part. Now that we are done, you can see this is our front and this is our back. So you can see I've also gone ahead to iron my zipper allowance. It is very important. Do make sure that you iron your zipper allowance so that it will be easier for you to fix in your zip. Now once you are done, you're going to go ahead and join your side seam, and the allowance I left for my side seam is 2 inches. If you are not comfortable, like you are not sure of the allowance you left, go ahead and remeasure and get your body measurement. Okay, so once I am done joining the side seam, I'm equally going to join the shoulders together. So the shoulder, you are going to have to align the lining and the actual fabric together, and then use 1/2 inch to sew it together. And you guys, after I was done with all of this, this is what you should have. You can see that our dress is coming out beautiful. Okay, now guys, we're going to have to cut out the lower part of this our gown. So what you're going to do is to go ahead and determine how long you want your gown to be. So I want my gown to be 40 inches long. This means that this 40 inches, I'm going to minus 20 inches from it. From our shoulder to where the V stops is 20 inches. So I'm having 20 inches extra, meaning that the down part, the one I'm going to be cutting out for the down part, should be 20 inches in length. Okay, so and for the gathering effect, which is going to go around the V, you're going to have to go ahead and measure around this V shape. So whatever it is that you have, you're going to have to times it by 4. Okay, why did I say by 4? Okay, for it to gather very well, the front is already 30 inches after I measured it around. So this 30 inches would have to double into 2 for it to gather properly well. And you know that we have 30 inches for the front and 30 inches for the back. Okay, so what I should have here is 120 wideness. Okay, so you can see I've cut out a chiffon as long as 120 yards. Okay, so that is literally what I did right here. So guys, from here I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I will go run a gathered stitch. And to gather this up, I'm going to hold one part of the thread and then pull and make sure that I have up to 62 inches. Okay, just enough to go around my V shape for both front and back. The front is 30 inches, right, and the back is 30 inches plus my zipper allowance, which is 1 inch zipper allowance, 1 inch for one side of the zip and 1 inch for the other side. So in total I should pull into 62 inches. Okay, so now that I'm done with this, I'm going to go fix this. Okay, and to fix it, you're going to ensure that you start from the back. So you're going to have to loosen your back a bit, about just loosen up about 1 inch, and then you sew this from one side to the other side. So guys, after I stitch this is what I have. You can see how this is looking already. So guys, we are going to go ahead and trim our armhole, and then we cut out our sleeve. Now the sleeve is going to be a puff sleeve, okay, with elastic at the down part about 2 inches away from the hem of the sleeve. Okay, so guys, I'm trying to cut out the sleeve. So what I'm going to do first is to measure the length of my sleeve. So my length is going to be 13 inches. I marked it out and then trim it out. So I'm going to again go ahead and calculate my cap height and then place it. Now to calculate my cap height, I'm going to divide my busts by 12 plus 0.5 inches, And then once I am done with that, I would go ahead and cut out my sleeve. You can see I have a puff sleeve right here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and sew in my elastic into my sleeve. Okay, now to do that, I'm going to first of all weave the rough edge of the down part and then hem it just like this. And once I am done, I'm going to come over to the table, and then from the down part of my sleeve I'm going to come up by 2 inches. This is where I'm going to be sewing in my elastic. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same thing to the other sleeve because obviously is on the 2 sleeve. Now you are going to have to measure your round elbow, which is where the sleeve is going to stop, and then you're going to cut out elastic for it. Okay, so your elastic and your round measurement should be the same, and you're going to go over and pull this sleeve into the sleeve. Okay, what do I mean by this? When you're sewing, you have to be pulling it, and once you're done, go ahead and sew the side seam of your sleeve and then fix into your gown. Okay, so this is our gown. We are done with this tutorial. I hope you guys find this tutorial helpful. If you do, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, share to get more people to see this particular video. I will see you in my next one. Bye.